James Kaufman, World News Report today. Ashli Babbitt's cold-blooded killer runs unaccredited child care center and has received $190 million from the HHS. Captain Michael Byrd of the Capitol Police, the man that shot unarmed Ashli Babbitt in the head at point-blank range in the Capitol on January 6, has been running an unaccredited child care facility from his home in Maryland and has received over $190 million in government aid for the facility, if you can call it that, from the HHS. Take a look at the home and ask yourself, would the people that live in this area qualify for government-assisted child care? And if they did, would they be using that money here and dropping their children off at this home? I think we all know the answers. In one of the Biden administration's last auto pen signings before Joe Biden left office, Captain Michael Byrd was pardoned for his inexcusable actions on January 6th. Everyone saw this blatant murder on video. This Capitol police officer shot and killed January 6th protester Ashli Babbitt in cold blood during the protests on Capitol Hill on January 6, 2021. Video evidence captured Byrd shooting an unarmed Babbitt without warning as she attempted to climb through a narrow window near a barricade entryway to the Speaker of the House's office area in the U.S. Capitol. Following an investigation, Byrd was cleared of any wrongdoing, although questions remain about the escalation to lethal force without any attempt to subdue, detain, or even warn Babbitt. In the video, other armed law enforcement officers are visible standing in the background, appearing available to provide backup if needed, but doing nothing. This was not Byrd's first firearms-involved incident at the Capitol. It is rumored that he both had an accidental discharge of his weapon at the Capitol and also left his Glock 22 service weapon in a visitor center bathroom overnight in February 2019. Byrd also had his police powers revoked on several occasions for failing to meet semi-annual firearms qualification standards, which involve shooting a target from 10 meters. Please also note that in the years his daycare has been receiving this HHS money, not one single rating or review has been given on any platform, including Yelp, including Google, and including, specialty platforms like the one I'm showing you here. That alone speaks volumes and tells us everything we need to know. No records of attendance have been available either. This guy is a gangster and needs to be brought to justice. Here you can see his home that's being used as a daycare center, or is it? Definitely received over $190 million. They say that his wife is the one that manages it. Ladies and gentlemen, again, people in this area, you can see by the home, if they needed a daycare, they probably wouldn't qualify for HHS funds. And secondly, would you drop your kids off at this home when their daycare facilities with several, people that are qualified there at the facilities and children to play with? I think not. Let's listen to Officer Byrd, who I detest. Does everyone's wife run a no-show daycare that is any part of the U.S. government? You know what? At this point, I would not doubt it. President Trump needs to do something about all this crap quick. We've had enough.
On the internet, but you've never been officially, publicly identified. You want to tell us who you are?
My name is Michael Byrd. I'm a lieutenant for the United States Capitol Police.
For months, he has lived in hiding, he says, over this moment.
his decision to use deadly force against a rioter as she climbed through a barricaded door that leads to the House chamber. In the months since, he's been the target of threats. Can you give us the nature of some of those threats?
They talked about, killing me, cutting off my head, very vicious and cruel things.
Racist things?
There were some racist attacks as well. It's all disheartening because I know I was doing my job.
Given the nature of the threats that you described, do you have any concern about showing your face and identifying yourself?
Of course I do. That is a very vital point, and it's something that is frightening. I believe I showed the utmost courage on January 6th, and it's time for me to do that now.
Responsible that day for securing the House chambers, Byrd couldn't see what Americans were witnessing on their TVs, but he could hear it in the pleas from other officers. Were you afraid that day?
I was very afraid.
What are you hearing on your radio?
I'm hearing about the breaches of different barricaded areas, officers being overrun, officers being down.
Did you ever hear a call or a report of shots fired during any of this?
As a matter of fact, I did. There was reports of shots fired through the House main door onto the floor of the chamber.
Later, those reports would prove to be false. This video captures Byrd instructing members of Congress to don gas masks.
We had a disbursement of tear gas in the rotunda. Please be advised there are masks under your seats.
He says officers barricaded the door, what he considered the last line of defense.
I had been yelling and screaming as loud as I was, please stop, get back, stop. We had our weapons drawn.
There's a gun! There's a gun!
Byrd, only his hand and gun visible, targeted a figure trying to climb through a window. He fired a single, fatal shot, hitting Ashli Babbitt. She was 35 years old, an Air Force veteran, Trump supporter, and QAnon follower. We see your arm out there for a considerable amount of time. Were you wavering?
I was taking a tactical stance. You're ultimately hoping that your commands will be complied with, and unfortunately they were not.
When you fired, what could you see? Where were you aiming?
You're taught to aim for center mass. The subject was sideways, and I could not see her full motion of her hands or anything. So I guess her movement, caused the discharge to fall where it did.
And what did you think this individual was doing at that moment?
She was posing a threat to the United States House of Representatives.
But an attorney for Ashli Babbitt's family disputes that. He did not respond to our request for a comment, but in a previous statement said Babbitt was not brandishing a weapon, not in close proximity to members of Congress, and was not an imminent threat of death or serious injury to anyone. Her family points out that she was not armed.
That's correct.
The fact that you weren't aware whether she was armed or not, did that alter the decision-making?
It did not.
What should we make of the fact that there were other officers in other potentially life-threatening situations who didn't use their service weapons that day?
I'm sure it was a terrifying situation. I can only control my reaction, my training, my level of expertise. That would be upon them to speak for themselves.
Former President Trump has talked about you and this incident. He says she was murdered. What does it feel like to hear that from a former president?
Well, it's disheartening. If he was in the room or anywhere and I'm responsible for him, I was prepared to do the same thing for him and his family.
Would you have his back today if you were so assigned?
I sure would, because it's my job.
As I said, your name has been on the internet for some time in an unofficial way. A lot of rumors, a lot of accusations, one of which is that you had some sort of political motive. You were a political operative.
I do my job for Republican, for Democrat, for white, for black, red, blue, green.
A few years ago, you were investigated for leaving your service weapon in a bathroom. And that's been brought up by those who are questioning your competency.
Yeah.
Do you want to respond to that?
Sure. It was a terrible mistake. I acknowledged it. I owned up to it. I accepted the responsibility. I was penalized for it. And I moved on.
Multiple investigations have now upheld Byrd's actions on January 6th. Capitol Police, in their press release after exonerating you, said your actions potentially saved members and staff from serious injury and possible death. What was it like to hear those words, to see those words?
Those words meant a lot because that's exactly what I did on that day. That was my mission. That was what I prepared for. And it's rewarding and refreshing to hear that.
Lieutenant Byrd says he still loves his job.
So now we find out he's not only a dead cold killer, he's also been running a hustle on the taxpayer for over a decade now, collecting almost $200 million. Unbelievable. Hopefully, President Trump will finally do something to this slime ball, because that's exactly what he is a slime ball. Please make sure to share. Please subscribe if you haven't, and always remember that anything's possible in Bizarro World.